Hello and welcome to TidyX episode 157. TidyX is a screencast where we go through and explain how our code works. My name's Ellis Hughes.
And my name's Patrick Ward. Thanks for tuning in to TidyX episode 155. As always, be sure to like and subscribe on that YouTube channel link down below. Really helps us out and also allows you to comment and get in touch with us and maybe have some of your questions answered here on the episode. And we do have a Patreon page if you enjoy our work and feel like it's helped you in some way and you'd like to contribute to our efforts. You can do so at the Patreon page, and we're thankful for anything you may give. That said, we're jumping into episode 155. We're still talking about our package development. This time we're writing a package with some bespoke functions in it.
Yep.
We're getting near the end, and so we're ready now to talk through the episode where we're going to go over how to add your examples to the help page. So we've got the functions all loaded in. We did that last time. Episode 155, we talked through what the functions were, how they worked. 156, we loaded those functions up, and now we're ready to put together the help page. So when people type question mark, function name, they get a bit of information that can help them sort of understand what the arguments mean, how the functions are expected to work, and all of those kinds of things.
How they can actually use them, because you can read documentation. Documentation can be really good, but there's nothing quite like seeing code that's actually using it. So you can kind of build a mental model about how somebody was thinking that you might use their code. So we've basically taken everything from episode 155 because that had everything in there essentially, right? We had the data sets that came in, we had the functions themselves, and we walked through explaining how they worked, even though we did not document them explicitly in the script of episode 155. And we showed examples of how to use them. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking the code from episode 155 and adding that in as the examples, because we felt as though that is a good way to combine those two together to show that it's an example doesn't have to be like super crazy. It's like showing you the most insane way to use the function. I mean, realistically, you shouldn't be doing that. You want to show the most common use case for that function so that people can use it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually first add data to our package, because just as we did in our prior series, we want to be able to very quickly use the same data set across our examples. So we essentially have taken this first section of episode 155 script, created a new R script inside of the data-raw. Here, let me show you where that would be. So let me pull that over here. So inside of data-raw, we now have a lawman, batting, and teamruns.r script. And this is all that's contained in there. So it's library tidyverse, library lawman, getting our batting data set and filtering down to keep batting from 2010 and teams from 2010, and storing those as lawman batting 2010 and lawman team runs 2010. Now that's in the package, so now we can just use it. We don't really have to do much else. But good practice says we're going to document it. So just as we did in episode 154, we are going to document our two new R data objects in here, recording what the columns are, what is the data set, and everything. If you want to learn more about that, watch episode 154. All right, now we're going to jump over to, we've got all our data, we know the code that we're going to want to add, but how do you actually add an example? Patrick, do you want to take us through that?
Yeah, so we're starting up at the top there, and we've got our hashtag with the tick mark, which is allowing us to write in our comments, and then we have the little at examples and at export, which remember from previous episode, at export makes this accessible to the public, basically, so they can access it. At parameters population average, at parameters population variance. These are just our explanations of what these functions are, the types of information, like what kind of things they're going to produce, right? So once we put that stuff up there, those are the nuts and bolts. We covered that in the previous episode. All we did was we took the code that we had written from episode 155, where we discussed what this is, and we just plopped it right in here into our kind of roxygen block. And again, we don't have to do any sort of like data cleaning, because remember, we stored that data now within the package. So that Laman batting 2010 is already the data that's cleaned and filtered down to the 2010 or greater season. And then all we're doing here is we're producing, as we talked about in episode 155, we're producing a population average and a population variance from some sliver of the population, namely people that actually batted, so people that actually played. And this is what we're using to surface our empirical Bayesian priors. So they're priors that are empirically derived from the actual data. And so, again, episode 155, if you want to see how these functions work, how we came to these things and stuff like that. But it's just at this point, it's a cut and paste job. We throw it right in there. We move down to the get beta parameter, which is our next function. All the same type of information. So not, the help page, we have the title, the description, all of these and then pieces here are the things that are going to be highlighted on that help page for the person to quickly be able to identify. We have the alpha and beta, and we're defining what the parameters are for this specific function. And again, then we just paste it down there. Beta mu, there's the function. When they go to the help page, they're going to be able to see that. And the same thing for beta standard deviation. So yeah, actually, let's run the example here.
So one of the new things that we added with this one was the fact that we have this add details. And so this is additional details about the functions that are going to be included. You may recall that beta mu and beta SD, because we set the RD name to be the same, are going to have a combined help page. But we don't actually really use these functions directly in episode 155, so there was no example code to include. So what we're going to do instead is in these details say, hey, if you want to like see like how it gets used, because it's used inside of the posterior functions, go see see them in action, and we're going to link out to the posterior beta help pages. And so you just type /link, the package name, : posterior, or the help page name, and then this is the text that gets shown. I decided to have it be the help page specifically, but you could type anything you want. We could even have included it like that. So it was like that entire thing becomes a link. You've probably seen this in help pages when you're seeing them go, hey, here's additional information in another help page.
The other thing is, because those two functions, the beta mu and the beta standard deviation, they're not used explicitly by the end user. They're used within another function. We could have also just removed them from export and allowed them to be something that lived within inside of our little our package here on GitHub, but not directly accessible to the end user, because they may not, we may think, oh, they have no real utility to the end user. They're just sort of being used within inside of something else. So
yep.
Also an option.
And that's a great point too. So you can use the, so you may have seen just there, I removed the @export and then I added a no RD. And what this is telling Roxygen is, hey, don't worry about generating a Roxygen help page, or generating a help page from these Roxygen blocks. So this is the nice thing about using no RD is you can actually create your descriptions and whatnot for these packages, because this is also just good practice as a programmer, right? Documenting your functions, adding all that extra information in there. But now with no RD, it's not going to try to generate that RD file for the end user. So they're not going to see, beta mu help page in the package, but there's no beta mu function. This way we can hide that from them. So that's a great point, Patrick.
And then where are we at? Oh, so this is the same type of thing. Are we at the gamma distribution?
This is still the beta distribution. So this is all the code, the whole enchilada.
Oh, we're still on the, okay, we didn't change yet. Yep. So this is more of our beta distribution examples. This is now where we're taking our prior, we're combining it with the observations provided in the Laman data, which we stored within our package, and we're using the prior and the observed data, the likelihood data, combining those with our functions to get some sort of posterior estimation of the player's performance. And so again, this is the exact same code from episode 155. All we did was just plop it in here so that it's accessible on the examples page, and the end user can grab that information and see how we intend the function to be used so that they get a sense for how they can use it on their own. So
let's actually see how this one looks so that everyone
yeah.
knows. I promise I can type. There we go. So we've got, here, let's drag us out of the way. So we've got our calculate posterior mu based on the beta distribution. We've got a beta mu, beta SD here. And then we've got our whole example just right here. So anybody can understand how they're supposed to be using the posterior beta mu with all the setup code as well. And so I've marked it as setup here. We've included library tidyverse because this entire code needs to be able to run, assuming you've already loaded TidyX base, which is this package, but
Yeah.
any other additional packages that you might need, you load them with library tidyverse in your example.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Sweet.
But
And
this is
then,
not the only way. As
yeah.
we talked about in the last episode, these functions, we separated them out into multiple help pages because we thought that might be easier in some way. And it's not uncommon to have your functions separated out where the examples kind of all rely on one another. And so we actually have the gamma distribution, which, if you may remember from the last episode, has all the help page information together. And what this means is we only have to have a single example to demonstrate how all of the functions from the gamma distribution work together. We don't have to repeat copy code and anything like that. So I think this is, again, depending on the structure of your package and how things are supposed to be working together, whether they're supposed to be, kind of used serially or there's just a bunch of random functions, really changes how you're going to be structuring your help pages. In this package, because it's the beta distribution functions all kind of build up together and the gamma distribution functions kind of all build up together, I think it lends itself more towards having a single help page per distribution that it gets used together, and all the parameters get documented together. There's a single already name. They all get exported, but this also means then we only have to have a single example. Patrick, do you want to take us through the rest of this Roxygen block?
Yeah, all pretty much the same. Again, pasted and copy and pasted. Yeah, what is that? Lines 25 to 40 to 38 came from exactly from episode 155. Again, all the stuff up above this is normal Roxygen code, just describing things. We've added this little C also. And so within the C also, we pass these brackets, and you can see that inside of there, or following rather the C also, we have our beta mu and our posterior standard deviation function. So if someone is on the help page for the gamma distribution, they might see also and say, oh, they have an option for the beta distribution, and I can click out to those and go directly to those help pages and understand what those functions are doing and see if I have a use case for those, or if maybe they're more appropriate for the data that I'm working with. So the C also is a nice way to allow people to interact with other components or functions within your R package. And then again, continuing on, we've got our get gamma parameters. So all the same type of stuff here. We've got our function information. The function is in there. Export allows this to be accessible to the end user. It's pretty much all the same stuff. The only difference here, as Elle said, is everything for the gamma distribution is kind of contained within this one page versus having a different page for every single function. And
Yep.
sometimes you see that in R, where they'll have a whole bunch of like the apply functions will all come up. If you do question mark apply, you'll get T apply, and or you should, I think. Oh, maybe not. For some reason, I thought they all come up at the same time. Oh, maybe not. If you did like R norm, I think you can go see the see also there. Maybe like the distribution functions would all come up at once or something like that. But yeah, sometimes you'll see
Here,
this though.
Lapply. It's not apply, it's Lapply, and
Oh,
there they
there it
they
is. Yeah.
they
So
come
there, that's what
together.
I was thinking. Yeah. So they give you every possible apply version of that. So all contained on one page. So
Yep.
kind of cool.
So yeah,
Yeah.
again, there's no wrong or right way. I mean, with documentation, in coding in general, there's a a principle where we try to be dry. Don't repeat yourself. Otherwise, you're going to be wet. You're going to waste everyone's time. But with documentation, it's the opposite. Document, repeat yourself as much as possible. Make it easy for people to understand what your functions are trying to doing, what's supposed to be going on, what they're supposed to be entering into the functions, because they're not you. You wrote that function, you wrote this package, but they don't know what you were expecting unless you document that. And that's how you tell them what you're expecting. So, whatever documentation schema works best for you is to, in the beta distribution where we, had a bunch of different help pages for the different functions. If that's what makes sense to you, go for it. If you
Knock it
like the
out.
way that the gamma distribution is a lot cleaner and a lot condensed, but it has a lot of information, that might be confusing for people depending on the situation. So try to keep that in mind. Keep your end user in mind when you're creating this documentation, and ultimately you will become that end user at one point.
Hmm.
So with that, I think we're going to call episode 157 of TidyX. Thank you all so much for joining. As always, my name is Ellis Hughes. You can find me on various social media sites at Ellis_Hughes.
My name's Patrick Ward. You can find me on X at OSP Patrick. At tidy_explained is the home of the screencast on X. Gmail, tidy.explained@gmail.com. Of course, easiest way to get in touch with us, though, is to like and subscribe on that YouTube channel. Put the questions and comments down below so that we can get back to you and maybe make your questions or comments part of a future episode. And again, if you enjoy our work and feel like it's helped you, we do have a Patreon page, and anything that you'd like to give to support the show, we are super appreciative of. And with that, that's episode 157.
Thank you all so much, and keep on exploring your world.